Well, hello again. Welcome to our, uh, I say daily channel. We're basically starting this up again. Now, what's funny is I've actually recorded ahead some videos, but what was funny was I forgot to get this chapter here, chapter 3. So I've already recorded the next videos and now I'm going backwards, which works fine because we're not necessarily following the story. We're just going along, finding a verse or two to try to encourage you as you go through your day. Because I'll be honest with you, um, what I've discovered over the last few days is um, I need this. Uh, the happiness that we think we're supposed to have, because we continue to tell ourselves we're supposed to be happy. The Bible doesn't promise happiness. It says that there's joy, and I believe I find there to be a difference between the two. I don't know how you would feel, uh, and I know I've said this on a different video some time back, and I don't want to um, reiterate stuff I've already gone over, but I think it's important before we get into the passage to discuss this. The idea of joy, according to the American Heritage Dictionary, is an intense and especially ecstatic or exultant happiness or an instance of such feeling, an expression of such feeling, or a source or an object of joy. To take great pleasure, rejoice. Now, in this, it actually uses the idea of the word happiness. If we go to Merriam Webster and we were to look there, it would define joy as an emotion evoked by well being, success, or good fortune, or by the prospect of possessing what one desires, an expression or exhibition of such emotion, or a source or cause of delight. Now, the word happy, according to the American Heritage Dictionary, says enjoying, showing, or marked by pleasure, satisfaction, or joy, cheerful or willing, or and Merriam-Webster, since we did this for the other one, says favored by luck or fortune, or notably fitting, effective, or well adapted, enjoying or characterized by well-being, and here's a keyword: contentment. So why do I say that? Does that mean every Christian, every believer in God, everybody that quote practices religion is supposed to fake joy and happiness? No, it's not what I'm telling you. But what I say is, we sit there and think that that means I'm gonna have a smile on my face, or I'm gonna have like I'm gonna get to do a celebratory dance or something. And how I equate it, and this is probably the best example I can give, and forgive me if it seems like a poor example, but um, I know that on TV there are a lot of shows where they're crime dramas where the episode starts off and there's a victim, there's someone who's been hurt, or shall we use the term victimized, whatever the crime was that was done, whether it was an assault of some sort, whether it was a loss of life, but there's a crime involved where someone's hurt, uh, someone's sense of freedom has been offended. And what happens is the rest of the show is showing a pursuit of justice towards that person. Now, whatever that justice may be, if it's an assault and the person gets caught and gets arrested and goes through court and is found guilty and goes to jail or whatever, they face the consequences and you feel like justice was done, but you're not necessarily smiling and happy because there was an assault and or a violent crime that was committed. And I know we're talking a TV show, but what I'm expressing is that there'll be joy with that family because justice was served and justice was upheld, but there was still a crime committed. There was still an offense that was done. And that family may not be smiling, it may not be jumping for joy, but there'll be a happiness, a contentment in the end result, which is justice being served. See, as a Christian, there are times where there will be, if I would use that term, justice served, where there'll be a solution towards the end of a situation where we may not be happy, we may not be joyous like people would expect, but because we know the end result, we know that God receives the glory, we know that He's going to receive praise. Maybe there's a loss that we've faced of some sort, but we know that God's going to get the praise. And though there may be struggle, there may be difficulty, He still gets the praise. So, why do I say all that? I mean, what does it have to do with the passage we're going to discuss today? And I know I've spent a lot of time on this, and so I'll try to keep this quick. We're going to go Matthew chapter 3. This is where we get introduced to John the Baptist. And it talks about him in the wilderness, and him preaching, and the people he was able to see saved and baptized. But what I want to focus on is at the end of the chapter when it talks about that Jesus came from Galilee. Yeah, I'll show you. Verse 13, and cometh Jesus from Galilee to Jordan unto John to be baptized of him. And John forbid him, saying, I have need to be baptized of thee, and comest thou to me? Jesus answering said unto him, Suffer it to be so now, for thus it becometh us to fulfill all righteousness. Then he suffered him. And Jesus, when he was baptized, went up straightway out of the water, and lo, the heavens were opened unto him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and lighting upon him. And lo, a voice from heaven saying, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Now, the verse you would think I would go through maybe is verse 17, but what I really want us to look at is verse 14. It says, And John forbade him, saying, I have need to be baptized of thee, and comest thou to me? And then verse 15, And Jesus said unto him, Suffer it to be so now, for thus it becometh us to fulfill all righteousness. Then he suffered him. So what do we do in this channel? We talk about encouraging. We talk about what are things that I can see in my Bible to encourage me. And I can't speak for you all, but I know for me, it's hard at times to feel like there's, not that there's a purpose for me, but that the purpose is as high as I feel like some people make it. You know, well, Lewis, you were a Bible college student, you were a Bible major. Lewis, you've been in ministry for a long part of your life. So obviously you've got a lot of responsibilities, a lot of duties. And I do have responsibilities and there are duties, and I enjoy them. I do. But there are times where I don't feel worthy of that. I don't feel deserving of people to even think that. And I want to be like, wait, no, Lord, no, no, I don't want to do this. And my pride gets in the way, and my ego gets in the way. Not that I have to be in certain roles or certain capacities, but if God's opened that door and He's put me in that position, I sit there, hey, Lord, if this is what you want from me, and do it to the best of my ability, and not try to, as I look at this passage, I feel like the way it comes across, it's almost like He's correcting God. And I understand it's the English, the way it's written, but it said, but John forbade him, where Jesus said, I need you to baptize me. And John is like, wait, no, hold on. Now, I don't judge John for this, because we do this all the time. We tell God what He should be doing differently, or what He should be doing to correctly deal with us in where we are. And that's not how it should ever be. That's not how it was intended. God is the creator of the world. In the beginning, God. Not in the beginning, Lewis or anybody else. In the beginning, God. And we sit there and we try to correct Him. We try to tell Him how it should be. And that's not how it's intended. Now, again, I don't say this judgmentally to John, but I use it as an illustration to ask the question, what is it you've been tasked with today, or yesterday, or this week, or this month, or this year? I'll mention in a later video, which was technically recorded earlier, about locally schools starting back up. Well, I know that I have a couple people that may watch a video here that are college students currently. And what are you all doing? You all are deciding, What does God have for me for the rest of my life? What degree should I be seeking? What should I be looking for? And you go forward and you do the best you can in your classes, but maybe the major you've chosen is something that's safe for you, but it's not what God wants you to be doing, and you know it's not what He wants you to do, but you're doing it anyway. And my challenge to you is to stop doing that and to go ahead and do what God told you. Don't tell God, no, God, you don't really want me in that degree. You don't really want me in that field. We don't tell Him what to do. He tells us, and we go forward and we do it to the best of our ability with His power, with His strength. So again, Matthew chapter 3, verse 14, but John forbade him, saying, I have need to be baptized of thee, and comest thou to me? Verse 15, Jesus answering said unto him, suffer it to be so now, for thus it becometh us to fulfill all righteousness. If I come back around, I would love to go further into that idea, to fulfill all righteousness. But he says, but then he suffered him. And Jesus was baptized and went straightway out of the water. And lo, the heavens were opened unto him. And he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and lighting upon him. And lo, a voice from heaven saying, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. I hope to hear that one day. To hear God say, welcome, my Son, in whom I am well pleased. Anyway, hope you have a blessed rest of your day. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Take care.